It is indeed, Jamie. We are being spoilt, and well, not if you're a buffalo, actually. It's a very bad day if you are a buffalo, because between the lions in Kenya and the leopards here in South Africa, they've both managed to get themselves a buffalo meal. Now, it is very unusual, like Jamie says, because buffalo are generally very, very big and very strong. And so what this leopard has done is he's managed to find himself a young buffalo. Now, this buffalo probably was only a few days old and was part of the herd, and you might have found that the herd moved and this little buffalo was still kind of sitting, and it wasn't really used to what was going on just yet. It didn't really know what was happening, and this leopard saw the opportunity and ran in and grabbed this little baby buffalo. And it's an incredible thing because this leopard himself is still very young. He's not an old leopard at all. He's only now just gone over 2 years, and so for him to catch a buffalo is very, very special indeed. So he's done incredibly well to be able to find a buffalo meal, and he's certainly going to get lots and lots of good nutrients from it. Now, he's a lucky, well, not a lucky fella, he is a very good hunter already. Even though he's only 2 years old, he's already proved himself to be an animal that can find food quite easily. Normally leopards will only be go from their mother at around this age, and they're still very inexperienced. But because his mother left him a little bit early, he was orphaned at a year old, he's had to learn very quickly how to hunt. And so the last year he's been practicing hunting, and he's obviously managed to perfect it because he's able to bring down even big carcasses like this buffalo. And you see, look at him eating. Can you hear him crunching? So every now and then he's crunching down on the bones, and the reason why he's stopping and just looking is because there was an elephant that walked past in the distance, so he's just watching the elephant. I'm going to try and just move us a little bit so we can get a better view, and it's all very exciting. Now, a leopard is one of the most special animals to see here, so I'm just going to get us one last view, because I know that it's almost time for all of you to carry on with your school day. So I'm going to give you one last view of the leopard before we say goodbye to all of you. And like I say, hopefully you have enjoyed being on safari with us, and that you enjoyed the lions and the buffalo and the elephants, and now, well, a leopard too. You've been very spoiled this afternoon. Not every day that this all happens so quickly, and so I hope, like I say, that you have a very good day at school, and that you don't get too much homework, and that you're able to have lots of fun playing during the day. But from all of us at Safari Live, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we will see you guys hopefully on the next time you join us for a school safari. Right, so our school drive is now over, and what a lucky drive they had this afternoon, because, well, like I say, lions on a buffalo kill and a leopard on a buffalo kill is not every single day. David, you're wondering if there's any hyenas around? No, so no hyenas that we can see. It's still very hot in the afternoon, and I would imagine the hyenas will come in at some point during the evening. He actually killed this buffalo last night, so late yesterday afternoon, apparently he grabbed it. The buffalo were seen crossing this road, and then he came in and grabbed this little baby buffalo that was just kind of lurking around the edges, which is the most ridiculous thing, because even the most brave big male leopards that I've seen struggle to hunt buffalo, and it really is not an easy thing to do at all. You've obviously got a herd that is around that is very protective of these babies, and we know that lions even struggle with buffalo hunts. So for Hosana to get in here and grab this is just absolutely spectacular. So Sarah, no, it's not too heavy. This carcass was in the tree this morning, so he did put it up in the tree this morning. It's just that it's probably much easier for him to eat on the ground. It's also the sun on the tree to the right here. There's a big marula tree that he's using to put it up, and we've seen a number of different leopards use this tree before, but it's really quite sunny there and probably very hot, and so he's rather brought it down to feed onto the ground where it's nice and shady, and he can get in under the shade and have a really good feed. Once it starts to get dark a little bit later, you'll find that he'll pick it up and take it back up into the sort of boughs of the tree and hang it there for the night. If he doesn't, though, he's going to have a lot of problems, because the hyenas certainly will find this during the course of the night. Now that it's been dead for a day, There's a bit of scent to it, and so hyenas will smell it if he leaves it on the ground. So he's going to have to put it back up in the tree at some point, but for now, much more comfortable to feed on the ground like this. Interestingly enough, though, Tundi was also seen not far from here during the day today. So apparently she was seen at Chitwa camp and was kind of lurking around there and then started heading up towards this direction. So I wonder if she's not going to pop out somewhere here at some stage as well. You never know. Maybe we get both sort of sister and brother together in the same place. It interests me, though, that Tundi's all the way this side, because this is the furthest we've seen her in the southeast since before she even had that cub. So she's obviously moving a lot, trying to keep Tingana's territory in check and just trying to see wherever Tingana is for her to move in that direction and hopefully keep the cub safe in those areas. So it's very, very clever from Tundi and very, very interesting to see. But there is still a lot of meat. Hosana, the way he's going now, is probably going to be here for another 2 days, at least, if he's lucky. I wonder if Tingana is also going to show up on the scene at some point as well. So, Anna, you're wondering if it's his inexperience that made him risk going into a buffalo herd and trying to kill a young buffalo. I suppose a little bit. You know, they learn from experience, and so you probably find he hasn't done too much buffalo hunting and isn't too sure about how dangerous they can be. Also, big bull buffalo don't really often worry too much about a young male leopard. They're not going to even chase him, so he's probably walked past quite a few buffalo and hasn't had too much sort of to worry about. The other thing is also is that his experience with buffalo is limited. Remember, we haven't seen many buffalo around in the last in the last year specifically, and so maybe it's just more he was curious, and then when he saw the opportunity that this calf wasn't moving, he then came in. Of course, there's also the other option that this calf was already dead before he got here. I don't know if anybody actually saw him kill this calf, but there's a possibility it could have been a stillborn baby, or it could have been a situation where the baby for some reason was just not well and it died and he's then come and scavenged off it. That could also be a possibility. The thing is that you never know. I'll try and ask around and see if somebody did see it, but if he did run into a herd and grab a calf, it is seriously brazen and he's going to have to be careful, because if those buffalo get hold of him, they are going to do some serious damage. The lucky thing about a leopard, I suppose, is that he's so fleet-footed that he can get up into one of these trees fairly quickly and kind of keep himself safe. But it is an amazing feat to see that Hosana has managed to do this. It's actually very, very surprising, and I'm a bit shocked actually at the size of the little calf, because it doesn't look like a brand newborn. I mean, it's fairly new. It's probably, I'd say, maybe a month old, but you know, it's still a big meal for a leopard to go after, particularly a young male leopard of Hosana's size. Right. Now, while I sit with our young male Hosana, I believe Scotty has been looking for our other young male that we had this morning, Tumba, and so our two favorite young boys are out and about, and I hope that Scott's going to have some success. Well, Scotty, you're sending to a person in the same place as you in Djuma, and hopefully Scotty will one day see leopards fighting. It is an amazing thing to witness. They seriously can go at it. Obviously, I've been fortunate enough to see a couple leopards fight in my time, which has been quite something to witness. But I wonder where little Tumba has gotten off to. He must be somewhere in that general vicinity. I'm sure Scotty will find him eventually. It's still quite hot now, so hopefully once it gets a little cooler, he'll show up somewhere. The area that Scotty's looking for him around sort of camp and to that northern side is very difficult. It's not quite as easy as what we've had it this afternoon with Hosana lying right out in the open like this. And you can see he's finished feeding now. He's decided time to have a bit of a rest, and I wonder if it's maybe because there were some squirrels that started alarm calling not too far from us down in the Mulawanini, which is where the last tracks of Tundi went, is towards the Mulawanini drainage. So you never know, maybe Tundi's also close by and she shows up as well. It'll be interesting to see the interaction between Hosana and Tundi, because it might be a situation where the roles are reversed. Normally it's Hosana that kind of comes into where Tundi's got to kill and tries to pilfer from her, but this time it would be the opposite way around. And would Hosana stand his ground a lot more, or what would happen? It would be very, very interesting, I think, if Tundi did arrive here. And also it begs the question as to where she put her little cub if she's in this area as well. So Marcelo, you're wondering if it's true that female leopards are more prone to being violent with one another than what male leopards are? No, not necessarily. I think the thing is with females is that there's a couple of things that maybe make their sort of territorial disputes worse. One is if they're pregnant, then there's this feeling that they really need to protect, well, they've got a cub coming, they need to get rid of this intruder, need to try and establish themselves and make it a danger-free zone. The other is if they've already got cubs, then they know that other females are potentially a threat to them, and so they'll then push them out to try and keep those cubs safe, and that makes them a lot more aggressive than maybe what the males would be. The males also know full well that a fight with another male can basically render them useless and killed or dead, or a loss of territory. So they'll do everything they can to avoid that fight. Whereas if a female feels like, I've got no choice, I've got cubs and I've got to protect this area, then she's far more prone to actually engaging and be getting physical with another female than what a male is. But it's not to say either one of them won't fight. So, I mean, I've seen males, females, all of them go after one another, and so, it's a situation where it just depends on the circumstances more than the actual sex of the individual. But I've seen more females come to blows than I have males. Males typically just trot alongside each other and growl and hiss and vocalize and salivate, and that's normally enough to kind of settle what's going on. But every now and then you will find the males come to blows as well, and if you have a chance and you want to see how hectic the males fights can be, there's some videos floating around somewhere of Mafufanyan and Tyson fighting on Arathusa a few years ago, and that was just absolutely something. They went after each other and it went on for hours, and they really kind of abused each other quite badly. So it shows you just how aggressive males can be as well. Now, Romit, you're wondering how heavy is Hosana compared to other males. Romit, I have no idea. I've never picked him up, and so I wouldn't know, and I certainly haven't picked up any other leopards that are his age, so very difficult to say how much he weighs. We were discussing this the other day. It's, we throw out these rough estimates, but we actually have absolutely no idea. And it would be nice, Viam and I were talking about trying to build some sort of contraption that leopards could walk over that could give us their weight, but obviously that's not the case, and so we don't really know. What I will tell you is that Hosana, I mean, he's a big boy for his age. He's a 2-year-old male. He's quite thick-set, quite big. He's got a little bit of a dewlap growing. He's a stocky leopard, so he's quite heavy. I would say if I had to guess, that he's probably weighing at about maybe 60 kilograms, which would be heavier than any of the females here, but still sort of 20, 30 kilograms short of the big males like Anderson. So he's still got a bit of a way to go. He might be a little bit more than that. After a buffalo meal like this, he might go a little bit more, but that's where I think he would be roughly. Interestingly enough, this morning when I saw Tamba, I was kind of thinking that Tamba looks so much smaller than Hosana, but now that I see Hosana this afternoon, Tamba is actually not that far off. Tamba just hasn't got that squareness in the shoulders just yet, but he will get there. In terms of the actual body size, they're quite similar, and now that I've seen both together within a short space of time, Tamba is actually not doing too badly at all. Right, well, while I kind of watch Hosana get himself nice and clean and get little bits of buffalo off him, let's send you back across to Scotty, who's got an animal that probably has the best idea in terms of dealing with the heat this afternoon. Scotty, best you get that brain sorted. Still another couple drives to go, and then you'll be on leave and everything will be all good. But we're still sitting with Hosana. He's now gone back to his carcass and started to feed. And you can see, for those of you that are a bit sensitive, probably best to turn away now, because he's a bit kind of gruesome with what's going on. He's tucking into the nose now. It's a place that a lot of the cats do feed off quite early on in the carcass. They like that soft nose area, and on a buffalo of this size, which is actually a lot smaller than I first thought, now that we've kind of come around and we can see its sort of back end area, that skull will still be very soft. It's not going to be nearly as hard as an older buffalo, and so he can still crunch through and get that soft nasal area, and then even into the tongue, and then around through, even potentially into the brain casing. So it's a situation where cats feed off it lots, and like I say, it is a little macabre sometimes, but it's the way nature is, and at the end of the day, the animal is no longer alive, and so, it's not feeling it. But I know it's a little bit much for some people, so like I say, if you don't like seeing the kind of kiss of death, then you're welcome to look away. Right, now from one macabre scene to another, I'm going to send you back to Brent Leo Smith, who's got lions, I would imagine, doing something very... Well, as you can see, Hosana has now dragged his little buffalo out a little bit further and is absolutely tucking into it. He's really having a full go. He's turned it around, so he's not eating the head anymore. He's now started to tuck into a rib area, and slowly but surely he's just devouring this at a rate of knots. There isn't actually that much meat left there for him. He's eaten quite a lot of it. He's kind of hollowed out that skin area, And it's mostly just legs now and ribs. There's a little bit of meat over the sort of top of the back, but other than that, he's actually eaten quite a bit already. And I'm not surprised, given that he did kill this yesterday afternoon. So I believe the guys saw the buffalo and then they saw him with this carcass. So no one actually saw him bring it down, which means that it could theoretically have been, you know, like I say, an injured young one or a stillborn or something like that. It's difficult to say without actually seeing what happened without it being here at the time. But isn't it just incredible to see a leopard feeding off a buffalo? It's not every day you get to see this at all. And in fact, in my time as a guide in the Sabi Sands, I think this is probably maybe only, let's say maybe the 5th or 6th time that I've seen leopard on a buffalo kill. So it's very, very uncommon. So Nancy, wondering if Hosana would share the kill with Tingana. I suppose reluctantly he would have to, because Tingana, being a little bigger than him, would probably bully him off this kill and take most of it and eat it. So, I mean, I don't think he'd want to share it with him, but he'd inevitably probably end up yielding to Tingana and allowing Tingana to feed off it. And Tingana would eat all of this very quickly. Tingana is a bit of a glutton and he can kind of chomp down, and so it might actually not be the worst thing. You know, Hosana is hunting just fine at the moment, and Tingana, who's seemingly not himself, might not be the worst thing for him to kind of come in here and just get some nice nutrients without having to spend too much energy. So it wouldn't be that bad. Hopefully Tingana is not too far then and he comes in and just kind of can feed a little bit. I know it sounds odd, but you know, Hosana has proved himself as a capable hunter and keeps finding food. I think it would be much easier for him to find food than it is for Tingana at the moment. So it almost seems better and a more worthwhile situation to have Tingana come in and kind of pull for this carcass and get some nutrients that he obviously needs, because he certainly still isn't himself, and he hasn't kind of surfaced on Djuma as yet. And Hukamuri is just walking around sort of marked at the moment, and it's a bit concerning because it's obviously going to lead to a very different looking Djuma in terms of our dynamics come these winter months that we're going into fairly shortly. But how cool is that? Like I say, this is not something that you see every single day. Absolutely astounding to watch Hosana kind of digging into a buffalo. It just seems so odd. Now, it's obviously, I mean, there's male impalas are probably bigger, but it's still just the risk involved with all of this. Peter, you want to know how long Hosana is from nose to tail? Well, he's approximately 6 feet 2 inches and a few centimeters. We measured him the other day. And no, I'm joking, Peter. I have absolutely no idea how long he is. He's a wild animal, so we don't have the ability to measure wild animals. We don't dart them and kind of try and go after them. And so difficult to say. But what I will tell you is that he's probably in the region, you know, generally you'll find a situation with leopards from sort of tip of the tail to the nose can be about 2.5 to 3 meters. So I would say he's probably at about just over 2.5. I mean, probably about 2.5 is what I would guess. I mean, that's a complete random guess. Their tails are quite long, but difficult to say. I mean, we don't have the ability to measure them, and I certainly am not going to get out and go and tell Hosana just to sit still while I put a tape from his nose to his tail. How those eyes, he's got such penetrating eyes as well. We're so lucky our 2 young boys both have amazing eye colors. So Darkstar, you're wondering if he's going to eat bones as well? Well, he'll eat the bones that he's able to crunch down. So that you can see, if you look at the rib section just to the left of his face there, and there you can see he's broken some of those rib bones and eaten some of those already, and those will have been soft enough and pliable enough for him to actually eat. When it comes to like the scapulars, the skull, the spine, you'll probably find that his jaws are just not strong enough to be able to do that just yet, and so he's probably going to have to leave that, and the hyenas will clean that up. If this was a male lion on this buffalo, you would find this male lion would probably just eat all the way through that, crunch every little bone, kind of clean it all up, whereas with this guy, you know, his bones, his jaw structure is just not strong enough to be able to go through all of the bones. But he certainly will eat the softer bones. You'll find he'll probably eat a bit of the hooves, a bit of the sort of the lower leg bones where they're still quite sort of thin and soft. He'll try as much as he can, though, that's for sure. If he can crunch down the bone, he certainly will. At the end of the day, it's nutrients that he can get out of it. Very cool, though. Well done, Hosana. It's a very good job you've done here. It's certainly taken to life so well. I know we've been saying it often, but you know, a year ago, it was uncertain as to what his future would hold, and yet here we are sitting a year later with a buffalo kill and Hosana. It's pretty ridiculous. Deadhead Tommy wondering about what I think with Tingana and Mvula and whether or not they're going to become, or a situation where, you know, Tingana is going to be very similar to Mvula and become a nomadic male. Possible. It depends on what's actually going on with Tingana. I don't really know. I haven't personally seen him since all of this sort of drama has been folding out, so I don't know what he looks like. I've seen pictures of him and he seems to look okay, except that he's lost a bit of condition around his chest area and he's not quite as bulky as he used to be, but it's possible. There's so many other males here that it wouldn't be a surprise me in any way whatsoever if he became this male that became nomadic, much like Mvula did. It's a situation where at the end of the day, you know, he's going to try and move as much as he can and try and get away as much as he can from a lot of these sort of males if he's not 100%. But I tell you one thing, his ability to survive and his instinct to survive will far outweigh his kind of want for dominance. So if he feels like he can't fight, he then will become nomadic and just try and survive more than anything else. You never know. Maybe he bounces away, gets kind of fit again, and can take a different territory or something like that. So, you know, it's not the end of the road for Tingana. Even if he is pushed out, he can still try and kind of find a way. But I don't know. I think we're far away from that just yet. I think Tingana's still around. He's still kind of moving. Yeah, there seems to be some semblance of him kind of scent marking around and following, you know, Thandi and looking after the cubs. So I think there's still some fight left in Tingana. I don't think we should be writing him off in any way whatsoever yet. I think there's still a long way to go until he's kind of considered out of the game. Well, Hosana is finished feeding for now. He's now just having a bit of a grooming session. So you can see he's just kind of getting his coat nice and clean and making sure that he's just looking the part. At the end of the day, we know Hosana likes to be a poser, and so he has to keep himself in good condition and make sure that he is as clean as possible for whenever anybody's around to sort of photograph him or show him in any detail whatsoever. So he's having a good rest for now, which is, I suppose, he's earned it after killing a buffalo. That's a fairly good job. It has cooled down quite a bit, so I wonder if he's not going to start thinking about maybe taking this carcass back up into the tree before it gets dark. It's touch and go as to whether he will, given that he's so full, but he's kind of looking in that area and sort of peering as if to say, well, should I do it, shouldn't I do it? Every now and then he looks over at us. I wonder if it's almost like, please can't you guys do it? I just don't feel like it. I'm hot and I'm tired. I feel like that you guys can really do it better than I can. So maybe that's what he's asking for, but we'll see how it plays out. There we go. You see he's getting up now, and I wonder if he's not going to go back to this carcass to try and feed. I'm going to have to just turn a little bit and try and see. He is heading there. It would be so cool if he goes up this tree, because it's such a cool tree to watch. I mean, we'd have the most epic sort of view of him going in that direction. So I'm hoping that he will. Let's see, he's kind of ambling towards the tree, not towards the carcass, which means that it might be a situation where he's not actually going to go up. What are you doing, Hosana? Is it toilet time? Oh, that's what you're doing. Well, at least you were decent enough to go away from us and upwind, so we don't have to smell your stinky dung, because after a buffalo it's going to be quite something. He's got a lot more manners than Hukamuri, because the other day Hukamuri did it right under our noses and it was most unpleasant, to be honest. It wasn't very nice at all. So I'm hoping that he's going to finish there, then maybe he'll go grab that buffalo and go up into the tree and lie on that nice branch that comes out to the right there. There's this perfect kind of horizontal branch, which is just the most epic one. The other one, that one, there we go. That's this lower one is leopard written all over it. So hopefully Hosana will be obliging and go and lie up on that tree. You might do it also to get away from the flies. There's a few flies around, and so you find sometimes leopards, when they're battling a little bit with the flies, will go up into the tree and just get a bit of a breeze and lie up there. Maybe not. Let's see. Where does he go? Hosana, where are you off to? You going to come say hello? Yes, you're coming straight towards us. Wonder if this is now his sort of time to go for a little drink, maybe. Hello, boy. How cool is this? It's just kind of meandering past us and going around. Love it. So cool to see. It's always so epic when Hosana's around. So Djuma fan, you're wondering when I think Hosana will leave the Djuma area. Well, Djuma fan, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping never. And I hope he sticks around for a long time to come, but we don't really know. It all depends on what goes on with Tingana, Hukamuri, quarantine. For now, it seems as though Tingana is kind of still around, and Hosana's found himself a really nice little place in the form of, you know, the Chitwa area, and he's hanging around Chitwa Lodge, and nobody's really stressing him. And so for now, he's quite happy, and he's getting bigger by the day and bulking up nicely. And so I think it's a situation where hopefully he's going to get out of the way and kind of into this area quick enough to be able to then, you know, sort of get big enough to be able to dominate and stay here. Wouldn't that be ideal? Can we hope for that? I think we can hope for that. I would like to hope for that he sticks around in our area and stays a part of our sort of section. So he is kind of moving down the road. Now there's another car coming who hopefully is going to stop and pay attention to the fact that he's walking straight that direction, because if they don't, well, it's going to be difficult because he's going to go off the road and away from us. But I know exactly where he's going. So what we're going to do is we're going to just try and get around him quickly, which is going to take a little bit of effort because he's going to go around very, very fast. So we're just going to try and quickly drop down into the drainage line, which is a little further away. So just hold on tight, everyone. Little Ferrari safari action just to get around and see him going towards the water hole. There we go. Down. I was hoping he was going to go onto the rocks, because if he goes onto the rocks, that is absolutely spectacular. But let's just see. Maybe we'll get lucky and he will be there. What's up? You're wondering why his teeth are so clean. Well, the reason his teeth are so clean is because he's a young individual. So he doesn't have to, his teeth haven't gone through the staining process and the wearing of an older leopard. He's still at that age where his teeth are nice and clean because, well, he hasn't used them that much just yet. Remember, the first kind of year of his life, or 8 months of his life, is mostly just on milk, and so he's not actually crunching down bone and using them. There he comes, straight down the log in front. So it was kind of roughly where I thought he would come out. So he's going to come up and then up this bank on my right-hand side, and when he gets up on the bank on the right-hand side, there's a waterhole just on the top here where he once spent an afternoon with Tingana. So he knows where he's going, and it's amazing to kind of watch him as he does it and as he goes about his kind of business, which is very, very cool. So let's see how he does it. No, he's now changed direction, which is quite strange. Where are you going, Hosana? That's where I thought he would go, but he's going up actually towards the pump house. All right, let's go across. He's still heading towards that waterhole. It's just not quite where I thought he would go, that's all. Okay, Rusty, get into low range because we need you to go up. I was hoping he was going to come and lie on these rocks on my left-hand side here because it's just the most spectacular place, and I've always wanted a leopard on these rocks. There we go. He should be on my left-hand side, walking towards me now. Yes, there he is. So, Jared's buddy, you're saying, isn't it amazing that Hosana's gone from terrapins to baby buffalo? Well, Jared's buddy, it is about as incredible as it could be. Like I was saying just now, it's incredible to think that a year ago this time, we were, well, okay, just not quite a year, almost a year ago this time, we were stressing about him being able to survive and whether or not he had what it takes to become a dominant individual or an individual that could even just find food for himself. And now we're sitting here watching him going after baby buffalo. It is a little ridiculous, isn't it? Now, I wonder where he's going to drink from, because the Ellies have made an absolute mess here, and it really isn't that pleasant to drink. But let's see, he's coming slowly. He's right here. He's not far away. He's just kind of on the back side, walking in this direction. But Hosana, I think you're going to be very disappointed when you get here, my boy, because this water is very dirty. Also think... There he comes. Sorry, boy, the elephants have made a mess here. Are you still going to drink this? It looks more like mud than water. I think he might get you and be a little disappointed. Oh, sorry, boy. Yes, I know, the elephants have been naughty, haven't they? Let's see. So, Gemma, you say you love this cat, that he is absolutely stunning, and thanks for being your Valentine, Hosana. Well, I think it's not only you, Gemma. I think there's many a individual that thinks Hosana is their Valentine. He really is a stunning cat, and he's got so much personality. I think that's why we can all identify with him. Now, he wants to come this direction because he wants to come and drink a little bit closer to where I am. There's a bit of a sort of less of a slope, so I'm just going to get out of his way and let him come down towards where he wants to go. Keep coming, boy. There's space for you now. There, he's going to go and drink on that side there, but it's still not a great place for him. So, Eugen, you want to know how smart are leopards? Well, they're just about one of the smartest cats we've got. I think they are incredibly smart. A lot of people don't give them that much credit, but I think that they are. Are you going to lie there now? Okay, Hosana, that's if you want to lie there, then we'll go around the other side of where you are. We had to just give him a little bit of space so that he could walk around, but now we're going to have to do a little loop to the other side so that we can see him nicely, which is fine because there's a nice little gap through here. Just got to be careful of the little baby leadwood on the left-hand side here. There we go, through the baby leadwood on the left, keeping it in mind. Now you might be wondering why I'm being careful of a baby leadwood. Well, the reason I'm being careful of a baby leadwood is because they are slow-growing trees and protected, and so we don't want to damage any leadwoods trying to drive through here. It's one of those trees we try and avoid as much as is possible in order to be able to kind of off-road. So it's important to also remember that we have trees out here, and the trees are equally sort of valuable as much as anything else. We wouldn't drive over a leopard, so try and avoid driving over the special trees that we have. There's some trees that grow all over the place and are kind of almost invasive, and then there's other trees that are, you know, a little bit more kind of special. Anyway, Hosana's found himself a nice little cool spot. Actually, what the elephants might have done, other than sort of making the water dirty, is that they've probably made this area nice and cool. All the mud that is splashed onto the ground has probably left a nice cool layer of mud for him to try and have a little rest. Now, this is very exciting news because it sounds like Scotty D has finally completed his mission for the afternoon, and so we have a drive where we've got our two boys once again, which is the first time in a long time. So let's send you over to Scott and the very special Tumba. Well, I don't know if he's about to have a drink. He's trying to, but it's too muddy to get to where the water is, and so he keeps putting his foot there, and then he slips a little bit, and then he doesn't know what to do with all of this. I'm sorry, boy, are you thirsty? And the elephants made a big problem for you. I know. But why don't you go, it's not far to Chitwa, and you can go to the nice dam and have water there. Or are you just going to wait until it dries up? No, he's undecided at this stage, but look at that. Isn't that cool? He is seriously beautiful. And like I say, we're being spoiled this afternoon because for you guys, you're getting to see two of the most beautiful cats we have here in this whole Djuma area. Between Tumba and Hosana is a bit of a race, and I know there's a split vote between all of you as to who thinks, well, which one is the better Valentine bachelor. But for me, Tumba is my favorite, but that's not because Hosana is not an epic animal. I absolutely love following Hosana as well. So difficult to choose, but anyway, I know it would be interesting for all of you to kind of debate it, so we'll have to see as a vote who do we think is the better Valentine bachelor. Now, while Hosana moves off, I think he's going to go north into Torchwood to go look for water. Let's send you back across to Tumba and see what he's up to. Hosana, but he's crossing north into Torchwood, so we're going to lose visual of him in the next 2 seconds as he goes over the road. So there he goes, disappearing into Torchwood, and obviously there's water somewhere close by that he knows about that he's going to, because that's the direction he's heading, is pretty much for water. So he has obviously worked out that there's exact places to get water in this area, which is a very clever maneuver, and he knows that Chitwa Dam is too dangerous to drink at, so that's why he'd rather go somewhere where there's a smaller sort of pond area that he can drink at, like what we saw just now. But I think he's going to have a tough time, and there's so many elephants around that pretty much every mud wallow has been in some way abused by Ellies at this stage, so I don't think he's going to win too much. But there we go, he's disappearing into Torchwood. Unfortunately, that's going to be the end of our sighting of Hosana for now. What we'll probably do is go towards Chitwa, hang around there at the dam, maybe go and see if there's some Ellies swimming, and then we'll hopefully come back around here a little bit later and see his tracks coming back into this area and crossing back towards his kill. I certainly think he is going to come back to his kill. He just really wants to get water for now. He's not going to have a situation where, you know, he wants to kind of sort of not drink. He needs to drink at the end of the day. He'll come back. It's just going to take a little bit of time for that to happen. So we're going to head off and leave Hosana going northwards, and we'll come back a little bit later when he comes back.